The conversation
today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Your World. I'm your host, Mwikali.
And my name is Winnie Lubamba. Super excited for today's conversation. Now
I see that. The intention is clear. I am here to learn and know and ask very tough questions.
It's going to be an amazing conversation. You want to stick around until the end of the show because we are talking about rent forever or buy a home. And I know this is a conversation that we talk about every single day. And I want to say we've been lied to.
Yeah.
For a very long time now. Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes when you say it as, like when you say it's a lie, then I'm looking at everybody I know, my teachers, my folks, I'm looking at my dad thinking, his intentions are good, you know. But then what does it mean? Things have changed, the way we live our lives, the economy has changed. Things have really, really evolved over time.
Yeah. And what some of the things that we used to consider as, what is it called, like investment opportunities, now we're seeing a shift. Somebody saying instead of focusing so much on real estate, so you focus on bonds, and we're like, okay,
that's you know what I mean? It's just like ile shamba ni yangu, title deed ndio hii nimeshikilia. There's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. But hey, not to worry, because today we're going to drive that conversation, and at least those confusions that you have, I am pretty sure by the end of the show you'll have a clear picture as to what you want. Okay, rent a home or buy. For those people who say, maybe says jenga Nairobi, nenda kujenga Ushago. Or for those of you who are like, maybe says the park gari kwa rental. Lazima ni park gari kwa nini yangu. Kuna shamba hata Nairobi, first of all.
Yes, is it possible to do that?
Yeah, so it's a whole lot of conversation that you do not want to miss. And we're asking, is home ownership still a dream? But on the question that we're asking you today is very, very simple. And I'm happy that we have an urban planner here with us on the show to really help us with that. And we're asking you, are property prices creating a generational housing crisis? Okay?
Yeah.
A property prices creating a generational housing crisis. And of course, that is because, hakuna shamba enough, ama hakuna, is real estate a scam? All those things. And we have experts with us on set. So you want to stick around until the end of the show. But again, engage with us as always at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X. And tag me at Lubembe_Winnie.
And it's Mwikali Mary.
And we'll be looking at your Facebook as we continue with the conversation. Should we introduce our guest today?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We have a power panel. This is who you need in this day and age for this conversation. It's dynamic, it's diverse. That is what this panel looks like. And starting from Winnie's, let's do the thing. Left. starting from Winnie's immediate left, we have a real estate investor, Elvis Onchari. Karibu sana to the show. And next to Elvis, we have real estate investment expert, Mwenda Dhuranira. I hope I say that. You have to say it slowly.
Yes.
It could very easily.
The L's and the R's.
Yes, and right next to Mwenda, we have Mairura Omwenga, who is an urban planner. Asante sana kwa kuja. And finally, last but not least, we have James Mose, who's a wealth manager. Karibuni sana to the show.
An amazing panel. And we also have an amazing audience.
Yes.
Comprised of very young people. I want to say young people, because someone said young is relative. I could be 50 and young.
No. Compared to where we are seated.
Listen.
Yeah, it's fine. Kuna wengine wanyangalia, we call you know my exact age. You know I'm not that young. But I think it's important that we have them here because these conversations, the things that we are calling lies now, me and Winnie, Confucius conversations happening now, is because at that age, we didn't know any better.
We did not.
We were handed over information that we believed. Is true.
It's true, and we're told, go to school, get a job, get married, get kids, end of story. Okay? So for investment, or shamba, or car, or bills, or we had those conversations as we grew up. Yes, and in some of those, it's still a lie that we still hold on to very strongly, and all those things. So if you are like us, okay, and you want to share your story as well, whether, you were told to invest in land or buy a house or buy a car first and then all those things. Share your story with us. We also want to hear. But we're in studio, so that means you can call in live. Lines will be open in just a second. And we also have our WhatsApp number, 0112 500 400. Let us know. What do you feel? Buy or rental? Okay? So it's going to be an amazing conversation. I'm just going to ask the panelists before we even talk to the audience. Buy or rent?
In what one? In one word. Like just choose one or say none. Or none. Or none.
Okay, because I'm forced to rent.
Because you're forced to?
Because I'm forced to rent. However, I like to say there's no one size fits all.
Okay, good.
Okay, so it's to none.
From the above. For you, rent. Okay, great.
Okay, Mwanda?
For me, buy.
Buy. Ooh, okay.
Buy.
Hey, okay.
With a proper baritone.
Buy.
Rent.
Ooh. Interesting. Winnie? At the end of the show. Both. Okay.
Both. Yeah. Both. But for now, none of the above. Until the end of the show will be both.
Will be both. Yeah. I don't know yet. But just to set the piece for the conversation, I was telling Winnie earlier that I was having a conversation with my dad last year. And my dad was saying, I have lived in this same house for 10 years. 10 years, 2015,
Where's your landlord?
Is he watching? He's watching. He actually called me today for some other reasons. Like, please tune in today. Tune in, Leo. And he told me, you know, Mom, he calls me Mom, unajua by now ungekuwa unaoni hiyo nyumba. Ungekuwa hiyo ingekuwa nyumba yako. Saizi unajua ungekuwa unaokiwa unalipa anywhere. And I was like, yeah, Dad. And then he followed up with a conversation, and then he said, it's never too late. You know, you can still do it. And today I did the math. I was like, I've been paying rent this amount of money. This is how much the house goes for now. And I'm still not done paying for that house. 10 years. Like, millionaire for sure. Lakini, bado sijamaliza kuilipia. So when I look at it that way, I'm just like, rent or own.
Yeah. So, and is it a waste of money? Because that is what we've been told.
Are you throwing it away?
Time. Yeah. Is it a waste of money? So for the people who said buy, is it a waste of money for people to rent?
Yeah, of course, it depends on your goals. But when it comes to long-term investment, in the asset class, real estate still remains the most viable investment. Since it's tangible, I mean, it's there. And when it comes to renting, of course, every 7 years, with the increment every year, the rent doubles. And if you buy it today, it means basically it's like your profit. But if you're renting, basically you're making the landlord rich and richer and richer. And the house you're living today, if you wanted to get like a mortgage for it, it will be like double the price what you pay. But within 10 years, you own it, you can sell it, you can get a mortgage out of it. There are more, according to me, there are more opportunities when you own. You have more options. But when you rent, it's not yours by the end of the day. Yes.
You said because you're forced to. What's that rent? Yeah, but why? Do you feel it's a waste of, because that is a conversation that a lot of people say, why are you wasting money paying landlord? Like, umetoka ushago uko Kisii, ushago kwenye ni wapi? You know? And then umekuja Nairobi kufanya mtu akue mdosi. You know, that is what we're told every single day. But you said, because I am forced to. Okay, can we explore this forcing aspect? And then, you know, answer the question, do you feel it's a waste of money or not?
Okay, let me start by why I feel I'm forced to. But it's a decision that I choose to rent first, because I work in the investment space. And one thing I like to say, the issue with real estate is not owning it, it's how you choose to own it. Like, I like to tell people that you really have no point owning a home at this stage in life if you have no income generating assets. Because how will you afford the house? Right? You'll end up leveraging your time and your income, as you've said, paying, for example, a mortgage, which, look at the amount of money you're paying to a mortgage versus what you will leverage that money doing for you elsewhere. So when I look at my situation, I will definitely rent now. But once I become a bit more capital rich, once I've built financial assets that are generating for me an income, I would venture into actually owning a home. But there's ideally no one size fits all. It depends on where you are in life, your lifestyle, your income, and a lot of things. Because again, I like to look at it this way. A lot of us got advice on real estate at the dining table. Right? You've gone home, you're having dinner, you hear your mom or your dad saying that, you know, so-and-so has bought a new house. Immediately you connect it to a sign of wealth. So again, ask yourself the question, are you buying status or are you building wealth?
But then there's something other than just having that discussion at the dinner table. There's also how you saw your parents live, you know. And I like to say that the home they built in this Nairobi saved us a lot, because there's a time where now they lost everything, and it felt like a safe haven that nobody's knocking on that door. Tuko nyumbani tutatafuta ya kukula, you know what I mean? So there's also the thing that you see happening other than being told, and when you hear kuna mahali broti maguta, you run because you saw how it helped. But then again, we're getting into that conversation to just understand what does it mean then, especially if you're in a place where you're able to get that for yourself, or if you're capital intensive. Mairura, maybe you can just tell us your baritone heavy buy. Where does it come from, and why do you stand with that?
Right, I think the issue of a house or a home, I think is fundamental. It's a basic right, if you want to refer to our constitution. It's one of these basic rights that we want, that everybody, you need to have a home. And if that home can be the home that you own, then it affirms that right and aspiration. So we, as human beings, it is an inbuilt belief that you need to have a home, okay? You need to have a home. So it's such a basic item. And then when you own that home, then really it means the fulfillment of that aspiration. So no wonder, not only in Kenya, but globally, housing is a basic right and aspiration that we are born into, okay? And indeed, from all areas and in all cultures, being able to be an owner of land, it's an element of achievement. It's an element of stability. It's indeed a firm statement of who you are, and then from the biblical times, I mean, they said they were, either you're talking about Abraham or whatever, we talk about Solomon, it was all about, you know, they had property and that. So it's a basic right and aspiration.
I see James.
James is smiling. He's just like, hey, let's do this. And I remember he was team rent.
Yes. What's going on? What's going on through your mind?
I'm a wealth manager.
Yes.
So for me, I see property as an asset class. Just like a bond, a government of Kenya bond is an asset class. So I'll give an example.
Okay.
If you had 20 million today, you can buy an apartment in Kilimani, which is a 3-bedroom with a DSQ. Using the 20 million.
Okay.
If you choose to rent that apartment, to give you rental income of 100,000 a month, which translates to 1.2 million a year. If you took the same 20 million and invested in an infrastructure bond, currently you can get a rate of 14%.
Okay.
And it's tax exempt. 14% translates to 2.8 million annually. So basically, if you invested in the infrastructure bond, you'll be able to get the 2.8 million as coupon. Use 1.2 million from the 2.8 million to pay rent in that apartment in Kilimani and remain with a balance of 1.6 million.
You've paid for another year.
Can you imagine? So why buy? I'll rent up until Kingdom Come.
Okay. Hey.
Okay.
It sounds very enticing. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is, not everybody has, or not so many people have the 20 million hapa, okay? But we have the dream. We have that dream to own a home. And plus there's a lot of pressure, you know, to own a home. You know, like he said, it's affirms who you are as a person. But at the same time, we're seeing houses coming up better than what was built, say, 10 or 15 years ago. So a lot of people are like, so how then do we keep up? Okay, so we'll come back to the buyers to understand how do we go about all that, but still also answer the question, and that is prices, you know, real estate prices right here in the country, not just Nairobi, okay? And what they look like and how you come about. Can we answer that after the break? We do not want to rush in, the point, and all those things, but keep sending in your views. There you have the question of the day, and that is property prices creating a generational housing crisis. Now we have the housing
levy. Kubaya. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. There's so much to cover. All right, welcome back to the show. Moto Ibiashwapa, let me tell you, yeah? And it's an amazing conversation today, all about rent or buy and why. And the question that we're asking you today is very, very simple. And that is property prices right here in the country, not just Nairobi, okay, but in the country, creating a generational crisis.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to ownership and buying and renting na ujenga wale wa Simba kosha. Nini mmejenga wapi vijana hapa?
Mkona Simba
nyumbani. But before we hear from them, James, you had something to say. Can we finish that and then engage our audience?
Yeah, so I think there was a question around
the numbers,
the property prices going up. I think, and I'd want my colleagues here who are in real estate to chime in. But if you look at property prices, especially in the past, like 5 years, actually there's been stagnation, because if you look at rental yields, they haven't changed. So you'd find someone who has lived in an apartment, they've been paying the same rent for the past like actually 5 years. There are no escalations, and because of the pressure of new buildings coming up, actually even rent is coming down because you don't want to lose your tenants. So the argument that used to be put forward on the proponents of own a home, it's because there used to be this notion that property prices will always go up. That has since been challenged, whereby actually we've seen property prices come down. I'm assuming human beings are rational, but that's a big assumption, because we are not always rational. We want to show status, as my colleague said. But if you are 100% rational, to be honest, as a now, property, owning a home, especially in Nairobi, is out of favor. You have other better options. But we do appreciate that property as an asset class, like any other, they go through cycles. So as of now, it's out of favor, but it may not be out of favor always. So, but as of now, if there are better options, you need to capitalize on those better options. Then once property comes back in favor, then you can consider it.
We'll explore the options.
Absolutely. I'm eager
what
to.
Are some of these other, what are some of these other options? Because again, we're a youthful population, not just in Kenya, but Africa as a continent, right? And majority of the people who have those dreams to owning a home, now you hear 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds talking about owning a home. There's someone I hosted before and said, yeah, maybe by 35 I should have retired and have a home. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, so what are we doing with our lives and all those things? So there's that pressure. But at the same time, the reality is not so many people. I mean, how much do you guys pay rent? Okay,
approximately.
Yeah. mnalipa rent pesa ngapi? Who wants to go first? Okay, go. How much do you pay?
You can give a range if you're not comfortable with the exact one.
I pay a rent of 7,500.
7,000. This is 1 bedroom or what is it called? Like a studio apartment.
Yes.
Bed-sitter.
Bed-sitter.
Ukisema studio ni experts. Those ones they pay a lot.
Bed-sitter umesema?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else who wants to chime in? How much do you pay ideally?
No, okay, I don't pay rent. Sijui kama nitapea mtu mwingine. Mine is okay, we own a land in Utawala.
Right.
So my question basically is for the guests who are here, how would you advise on building? We have a land, we just build just like a small house where I make a shop kidogo and then I live there. Right. So like for building, it has become like it is very expensive. Like houses built there ni kama unajenga kama 7 kwenda juu you get. So you need almost 100 plus million. 100 plus million. Oh sorry, 100 plus million. Yeah. So on that note, how would maybe which way maybe for Mr. James, which way would you go maybe to get maybe a loan that you can service and then you build, or do we have people who can help in that? I've tried to go to Equity, but the rates and all is not working. It's maybe these experts can give us a way forward that we can do something like
or
that. Or
even the question is, do you need to build now? Because like you said, it's expensive, it's a whole lot. Mr. James, I hope you've noted that question. Okay, anybody else?
There's a hand there.
And then you also wanted to chime in, all right? We can have the mic to him. Okay, go.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm renting a bed sitter around 6K per month. And it's a challenge, and that's why I had a question for the experts.
Okay.
For a person who has started life and he has maybe got his first job, is it advisable for them to save up until it has come to a point they can build? Or is it advisable to just rent for a while until you are stable enough to own a home? Thank you.
I think that's a brilliant question, because I think it's in what situations then is renting the better option?
Yeah.
How do we, at what point do we know that mahali nimefika saizi, this is all I can do, forced to rent? You know, like at what, and when does that change then for me? Okay. Throwing my question right in there.
And also, most of the time, age is usually a big factor.
Yes.
Yani wewe umefika 30 na hata hujajenga hata simba nyumbani. You know.
And I'd like to know, because back then it was different for our folks.
Yeah.
At a very young age, they had land probably given to them.
Yeah.
They had bought zilikuwa zinatoka 50,000, 20,000, which was still a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
But then it feels like it was easier.
Then I wanted to actually say the same, but I was like, oh, a little bit cautious, and you know, and all those things. So we'll handle all that. Yes, you wanted to say something? Oh, amesema yako.
Okay, we have another one.
All right, go.
Okay, my name is Steve. I'm a businessman and a musician. Ooh. And I'd really like to ask Mr. James a question. Many millennials prefer flexibility and mobility over long-term commitment. Do you think that the stigma around renting is finally fading out? And to Mr. Monda Thranera, the cost of land and construction is totally rising. Like 50 by 100 sahi sijui ni 15, 20 million. So how realistic is it for a young person to own a home? And what are some of the innovative models do you see in plan, or rather do you have that will make this accessible? Thank you.
Love it.
Great question. Fantastic questions. Okay, go.
Yes. I hope we are noting the questions.
My name is Faith, and my question goes to Mr. James. Personally, I own a land on Machakos County, but I have two. One iko ndani kabisa, and then the other one iko along that road, Kangundo Road. But now the problem is I paid that land certain amount of money. Ikafika mahali I was unable to malizia the balance. Now the company that sold me the land, Wakanyembe, if I want for them to give back the money, there is a certain percentage of money that they have to take.
Okay.
And now where I stay, I pay a rent of 12,000. There is 1 bedroom. And I feel like I want to shift and go stay in that plot, but haven't yet paid the total amount of money that I'm supposed to pay. It was almost 500,000, but I paid 300 plus. Now my question is, how can you advise someone who owns a land and they don't have money
to finish up
the balance? And now the owner of that land, most of them, they don't agree to have that agreement of we can pay with installments. And it's becoming actually a challenge to most of us because if I choose to take that money back, I will use that money for other purposes. By the way, I won't just think of buying another plot or what.
It's an option for them to give you your money back.
Yes, but there is that
option.
So can you advise on that?
Okay, very good questions. Okay, should we answer? Oh, okay, you have a question?
Okay.
Question, but it's not a question, but I'd like to support Mr. James and Apua rent. Me, I'm renting a bedsitter of 6,500 Kenya shillings. And at some point, I'm a thespian. Na naonanga kuna uzuri at renting since there's that flexibility as to where to live. You know, sometimes you do travel to various counties. For example, tumeenda county fulani. So, kuna that flexibility that neza mwanishi pale, ama neza mwanishi place ingine, since I have that freedom. And then, I have no much worries about decreasing property. Since those people who own land, you find that there's some point, kuna that decreasing property where they have more worries. So, I'm supporting that notion about renting than buying a house.
All right.
Thank you.
Can we then answer the questions and then come back, look at the reality of things? Because now could affordable housing in Mekuja, and then all the legal processes, the people who say, oh, the mortgage, someone said, is a bit unstructured, you know, here and there. So it's a whole lot of things, okay? But can we answer the questions and then come back and answer? If who wants to go first? James, there was the first question thrown to you.
Those are very good questions, but I'd want to make an observation. The reason why when we all grew up, we were under so much pressure that the moment you finish school and get your first job, the first investment you ought to make is buying a home. It's because of exposure. If you look at our parents, the only investment they knew was land and homes. Actually, anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I say, if you look at a normal Kenyan is financially illiterate. It's the truth, because Kenyans, beyond land and homes, we don't know better. Mikhail, you talked about your father or your parents owning a home in Nairobi, and when their income was cut, you guys were not exposed. As much as you did have income coming in, but you did have someone knocking on your door asking for rent.
Yeah.
What you need is actually not a home, but a secure, constant income coming through on a regular basis. If you have that, then of course you've de-risked everything. So even if you lost your job today, if you have an investment that is not tied to your job, that is giving you regular income coming in every month, then of course, even if you lost your income, you have this investment giving you regular income, and you'll be able to pay your bills and you'll be able to actually live. And I like what the young people are saying about flexibility. Yeah. So even the lady who asked a question about they have shares land, she's put a structure, now she's thinking about getting a facility to put a 7-storied building. And I know the 2 gentlemen or the 3 gentlemen who are in property, they'll speak to this. Once you have a parcel of land, before you do any development, it's advised that you subject that parcel of land to highest best use. You ask yourself, if I was to invest in this parcel of land, what sort of building or use? Is it residential? Is it offices? Yeah, is it hotels that I need to put here to give me the most competitive income?
Okay. Can we pick a call and then we come?
Right.
I am so sorry.
Yes.
A break.
Yes.
Yes. I promise. We have Ibrahim from Kisumu calling us this morning. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. It's good to speak to you. Kindly turn down the volume of your TV so that we can communicate better. Punguza kidogo. Punguza volume. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Do you have a question? Unataka kuchangia pia into the conversation?
First of all, my rent is around, my rent is 4,500.
Sorry, your rent is 4,500.
Yeah, 4,500. So,
yes.
Yeah. Renting forever, ni hard sana for my youth. Kuna sisi kwa ghetto, I'm coming from Bunga. Ghetto ni strong, and ni hard sana kwa rent ama kwa lot. Very expensive. Kama vijana wadogo, kuna ile pesa nyingi ya kuwa ploti.
Okay.
So it's like a dream that will never come to that. Tunangana na hizo za 45
All right.
Yeah, so the government has brought a good project. The affordable housing that we.
Okay. Ibrahim, whatever, you're still with us, but thanks. Thank you so much for calling us this morning. And it's true what he's saying, you know, that not so many people can, first of all, even afford to pay rent. And now we're talking about
investing
buying houses.
But then I think it's not a question of if to do it now. I think it's to gain all the knowledge that you can now for the decisions that you're going to make in future, and it's never too late. It might be 4,500 today, might be difficult, but something, probably you're working on yourself as you make these decisions to, you know, see lazima ukunile 20 million ya bond.
Well, let me tell you, the pressure.
Kadogo too. Inaweza kuwa there, a small amount can amount to something. So it's a good place to have this conversation. I'm happy they're tuned in.
Yeah. Okay, somebody wants to answer another question. Mwenda, there was a question for you.
Yes, actually, I'll try to answer 3 questions all in one.
Please do.
Okay. And, starting with Simba, and you mentioned Simba.
Yes, Simba. Ukisha toka tu hivi.
Was Simba ever rented?
No. Simba would be there waiting for you to come back after 5 months.
After 5 months?
Yes.
So that is your home and it was owned by your parents?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
But now things have changed. People live in the urban areas. And looking forward, actually, by the year 2050, 50% of Kenyans will be living in the urban areas. So what is the Simba today?
Kilimani.
So the Simba today is rented.
Yes.
It is.
Does it mean we are going backwards or forward?
That's conflicting. Because the thing that would happen then is, if you've seen when there's something that would happen where at the end of probably your life, you're marrying something, you'll be forced to put up a kasimba very fast, which probably will not be up to standard. Things. But
bora tu kama uishi bora tu kuna kitu.
Okay. So now the modern day Simba is whereby there are these units, smaller units like a bed-sitter, 1 bedroom, or something like that, whereby parents, I always urge parents to step up. You know, parents in the village, they were giving their children Simba.
Yes.
So in Nairobi, what are you supposed to do?
Nampatia kifungu ya apartments.
Exactly. Unampatia mahali ya kuanza.
In ideal situation.
Yes. You give them somewhere to start life. They say, hata kama ni ka bed-sitter, ka 1 bedroom, ile siku atataka ku-expand his family, then hiyo ni hali yake. Lakini at least umempatia kasimba ka kuanza mahali. So going forward, and hata kama uko na kasimba mahali, it doesn't mean you have to live there forever. You can even rent that particular apartment and move elsewhere, and you have income.
I wonder how culturally that is renting out my Simba, Simba Vlada, and then, but we'll come back to that. We have a caller, someone from Kitengela.
John from Kitengela.
John, good morning. John, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for calling us this morning. Do you have a question, a comment?
Yes, okay. My question goes to when we go to in terms of investing, and according to how we work and the salary that we normally get.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we're here.
So now I'm wondering, for example, where I stay, I pay a rent of 4,500.
Okay.
And the maximum profit that I get in a shop for almost a month is almost 25,000. So when it comes to saving and investment, now you wonder, how do you make the investment with this little amount that you have? And how do you escape this thing of renting forever? Because as young, we need to consider our later.
All right.
So my question goes to, how do we do as young people to make a good investment when it comes in maybe kujenga mali unataka kukaa when you get old or something like that? Or how do you do that in terms of ikifika ni press kama, how do you do?
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Yeah, Elvis, do you wanna tackle that?
I'd like to tap into that. I'd like to support two of my colleagues here.
Yes.
When it comes to home ownership, there is nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
Right? Because what you're looking for a sense of ownership, you're looking for security, you're looking for stability, you're looking for peace of mind.
Yes.
So we need to get to a point and realize that home ownership gives us an emotional return.
Okay.
Because we're chasing an emotional return, we end up leveraging our income. Right? You'll take a mortgage, for example. At the end of the day, that is not an investment, because the investment you're looking for, like what they're talking about, you're looking for passive income, you're looking to grow your income.
Yeah.
Now the home is good at the right time, when your lifestyle can support it, when your income can support it. But we need to understand that home ownership gives you an emotional return.
Okay.
That's why most of the time we're told that kikiumana, so it's emotional. There's nothing much rational about it. So it's okay, you can own a home at the right time. But one observation I've picked up from a lot of the questions here today, right? The problem that we have is an income problem. Right?
That is true.
That is what is pushing us also back to home ownership, because when you have income, when you have money, you feel safe, you feel psychologically safe that you can do whatever it is you want to do. So today, we have an income problem. I like to say, your money game can either be offensive or defensive. You can either out-earn your expenses and live comfortably, or you can choose to underspend. But there's a limit to how much you can cut. You can choose to cut your expenses, but there's a limit to how much you can cut. That increases your pressure. So the first thing that we need to learn how to solve before we go to home ownership and renting is how do we as young people increase our income. Once we do that, I like to say that real estate today favors the capital rich. Once you increase your income, you'll own the home. Right? You'll be able to comfortably invest, even invest in the bond it's talking about and pay rent. But it's high time we realize and look at ourselves. What are our implied needs? There's so many positions we have. I want to rent, I want to buy a home, I want to sell the land. But what are you escaping from? What is the real problem that you have that you need to find a solution to?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
I do. There's something I'd like to tap into, and that is beef. Yes. Okay. Charles Charles from Kariobangi South is on the line, so maybe we can just get his question before I ask mine. Hi, Charles. Good morning.
Good morning.
Asante sana kwa kutupigia, Charles. Do you have a question?
Nashukuru. So mimi niko na tu swali kidogo for me,
Okay.
So me ama Kenya Gen Z, mimi youth unaona?
Yeah.
Lakini mimi naweza sema kulipa nyumba pia imekuwa shida kwa sisi vijana. Na sisi tunataka tuweze kupata tumenunua shamba zetu. lakini hatuna kazi, hatuna hiyo pesa na tuko willing. So sijui ka wale watu wako chini but they want to invest on land. What that tunaweza saidikaje ndio sisi tupate tuko na shamba yetu. Dunia venye tunaishi tunaona uko mbele inaenda kuelekea miaka vingine tumezeeka na tuna anything tutakuwa tumeget. So it's good manze tuweze kusaidia na mapema. Mimi venye naona sasa hivi yenye kuko nizazekata bila shamba je unaona?
Yeah.
Alafu nowadays as youth marriage imekuwa shida without shamba, without pesa na tuna do. Unaona mademu hataki kuoleka na watu kasi juu tuna do. Tunajua mnapata kusaidia hadi tupate shamba yetu at least. Yeah. Me have tried to date, unaona? Nimetry kudate, madhara imekuwa mingi. Manze msichana mwingine nimemleta kwa nyumba amenibia hadi mchele hajapikwa. So you see poverty.
Wow. Hey. Pole manze. Hey. Pole. This kona just tutafikia magaldens. Asante sana but girls
tunataka mtu ako na nini kitabu kikuwa gani
sasa
sasa hiyo watu wasema uko na shamba kamulu kama una shamba kamulu wewe hata usiniongeleshe you know and all those and you also had a question that you wanted to ask.
I did after this break I will tap into that even as we answer Charles' question which ties into just what Elvis mentioned earlier and it's open. Mr. Maria, you can also join in and just let us know what if that is the problem, then how can we help, because it's come up one too many times. So we're going to take a break. The question we are asking you today is
very simple. Are property prices creating a generational housing crisis? We'll also be looking at your feedback after the break, but also keep sending them our way at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, and use our WhatsApp number 0112 500 400. A property prices creating a generational housing crisis right here in the country. So much to cover on the other side of the break. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. The debate is heated. It's fire, but we're hoping to bring all that energy and answer all those questions back on air. This is Your World, and we're talking about renting forever, buying a home. What is it? Things have changed. It's a very complex question, and we're still trying to understand it, because from either side, kuna feel ni kama there's an emotional bit of things, then there's a security bit of things, then there's the realistic, logistical side of things.
Yes.
But we have a caller.
Nagalde wants what?
Irongo Yukonasisi. Hello, Irongo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Irongo.
Hi, Irongo. Good morning.
Yeah, it's good morning, is it?
Okay. No, could you please turn volume yako si ya TV up kidogo so that we can hear you? But do you have a question or a comment?
Comment.
Oh, comment. Okay, go ahead.
2 comments.
All right.
Number one, I'm not very young. So, and I've lived in Nairobi for a long, long time. I have experience, or rather, I know people who took mortgages all the way from 1969, and that was my mother who bought a house in Uhuru Estate Phase 3 for 16,000 shillings. I have another example of my father who bought a house in 1974 in Old Racecourse Road, and he bought it for 40,000. And then I have my own example. I bought a house in 1988 in Buruburu for 300,000. All these through mortgages. Now, I can tell you for a fact that I do not know anybody in any of these generations who took a mortgage and lived to regret it. That's either my mother, my father, or me.
Right.
My son has also bought a house recently, I think in 2012, and he's having fun. So this argument between mortgage or renting, I do not, from experience, or rather, from experience, I do not know anybody who took a mortgage and has lived to regret it. Yet I know many who chose not to take a mortgage and instead rent houses, and today have lived to regret it.
Okay.
So for that investor, he called himself a wealth manager. James, was it? Mm-hmm. For James, one, I don't think you're giving a very good example between, investing 20 million in buying a house or renting. At that stage when somebody is buying a house and taking a mortgage, he does not have the luxury of having some 20 million shillings, or call it, if it was in my day, I didn't have 300,000 shillings at hand to compare between taking a mortgage of 300,000 and investing the 300,000 in treasury bills or whatever assets that are competing.
Okay.
So, straight answer to the young fellows out there: take a mortgage and take it as early as possible. Now, where do you take the mortgage? Right now, we are talking about the affordable housing. I know there is a lot of negativity about it, and many of these young fellows, when you ask them about the affordable housing, they start singing Kasongo. You guys, listen to me. Apply for the affordable housing and apply for it today, because they have mortgages, or rather you can finance other mortgages that you are paying 3,000 and 6,000 shillings, which is what you are renting. Renting and mortgages are not competitors. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Rongo.
Okay. Hey, that's a lot. But also, I'd want to understand how mortgages used to work then versus now. I think, Mwenda, you can take this and just understand how do mortgages, first of all, work. Who can apply, who is not qualified. But can we pick another call?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we have Crispin from Kisumu. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Crispin. Nalala. Good morning.
Ilali. Ilali.
Good. Very nice.
Kisumu is quite cold in the morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it just rained yesterday. Now at least it's a bit chilly. There's not much of that sun. That's why we're a bit cold.
Okay.
I wanted to contribute a bit about, in relation to the issue of either purchasing a property and relating to it in terms of us who are youth.
Okay.
Yeah, I find there's something that as youths is a time bomb in terms of our future, because you find young boys who are under 30 are going out to date young girls. And this is a blunder, because at the end of the day, you have a lot of recurrent expenditure going to clubbing, live, trying to impress someone off a date, and yet these are not people who are promising to become your future spouse. You would rather spend much of your time, because owning a house is a long-term priority. You cannot own a house with, it's not like an instant gratification. It's something that you must have planned it for over a long time in your career progress or what you're working on. In that, I find us thinking that like it can be a dream of a short period, and yet it is something that is quite complex, even more than buying a car. Because currently, I'm even putting up a house for my mom, and I'm looking at the budgets and the kind of lifestyle us as youths are engaged into. I find it a bit tricky. We need to change. We need to change this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. But why does it always have to be
Crispin is bringing solutions. Crispin is bringing solutions. It's like, guys,
focus, long-term goal. Thank you so much, Crispin. Really, really appreciate it. Mwenda, mortgages and how they work and all those things.
How do they work?
Okay.
Of course, real estate is high capital intensive. Actually, in someone's life, that's almost the biggest expenditure, buying a house. And of course, with the help of mortgages, it makes it easier. You know, the saving culture is very difficult to save money.
Yeah.
There is always something which will come up, a plot will come up, a story will come up here and there. But when it comes to the journey, before I come to mortgages, the journey of wealth creation, what I've seen work well, is whereby, for example, I like where you said you bought a plot for 500, you paid 300. So when buy what you can today, if you can afford, let's say, to pay mortgage for not mortgage, you can pay for a small property for maybe a year or 6 months, you clear that. Then you clear another one. Then with that now, you, at a certain point, you'll be able to sell those particular pieces of land. And, you know, these things appreciate, especially land. Now, when they appreciate, you'll have enough deposit to put in for a house, then get a mortgage, so that the rates you get, the payment, the premiums for mortgage, does not go too high.
But what is a mortgage?
A mortgage
at the very
is
least, yes.
A mortgage in Ideni, in short. In Ideni. But one of the things which I don't know why banks are not making noise about it, the KMRC mortgage.
Yes.
I mean, they have come with a rate of 9.5% per annum, compared to normal banking rate of 18% and 20%. So if people can take advantage of this KMRC mortgage, I think this will spur growth as far as real estate is concerned.
Okay.
Yes.
I see Mr. Marula really wants to chime in into this one.
Yes, I think mortgage,
yes,
by whatever name it was, it's really a loan.
Yes.
You are really taking a loan. And if you are talking about mortgage then, and therefore getting a loan, I think there's quite, in our country, there's quite a range of where you can get a loan from to buy a property. Okay, it can be the loan or mortgage then, when you are now talking about financial institutions or banks, okay? But otherwise, many families, and we have seen many persons really who have been able to acquire a home or property, not through the normal mortgage from the banks, but from other markets like the SACCOs. SACCOs have really proven to be extremely, extremely useful. Talk to Kenyans, they would have found that really the SACCOs have really supported their economic growth. And it initially started off with the SACCOs of people who are in formal employment, employed in government or key private institutions like the Nation. Okay, I'm sure you have a SACCO and so on. And it has now gotten even to the informal sector, where you even find chamas. Okay, those are all loans. Okay, those are all loans that whatever. And for any investment, I think the underlying fact is that there is never a time you are saying that you are earning too little to save. So the key word here is having a culture of making savings, irrespective of what you're earning.
Okay. You see, swali yangu ya mortgage. You see the way we have digital money lending apps.
Yes.
For phone. Okay.
Yes.
My question on mortgage is, so first of all, how does it work to miss a money loan? Cindy.
Yeah.
So who gets to apply? Who doesn't get to apply? Like, how is it helpful to people who want to own a home? Because I'm pretty sure there's so many people who have had conversations about mortgage, but then they're like, okay, and then how do we go about it? What is the penalty, if there's a penalty, you know, for it? What is and the legal aspects, you know? So maybe I think we needed to have had a lawyer in property to now handle all the legal you know, side, because again, very young people here, and even the majority of the ones who've called said, "Mimi, kijana mdogo," you know, and much as I'd want to own a home sometime later on, sahi hata kulipa rent inanishinda, okay? So that to help this person then understand how do you get to that point where at some point wewe una own home na madeni mingi.
Lakini you have to be qualified, of course, when it comes to getting a mortgage. If you go to any bank, they'll evaluate your credibility based on your income, based on your pay slip. Then, of course, it's so unfortunate since sometimes, like, you see people are employed. Like, for example, in my company, I might have employees who I'm paying a lot of money, maybe 300, 400,000.
Hey, yo, who are the employees?
But now, for me as an for me as an employer, of course, due to taxation, I'll not pay myself 400. I'll pay myself less.
Okay.
So my employee will qualify, but me as an employer or entrepreneur will not.
You wouldn't.
So of course we need to figure ways of qualifying different kind of people. But of course it's important we give to qualified people, since that's what led to mortgage crunch in America. because of lending to unqualified people. So what you do is, when you want a mortgage or when you are thinking about getting a house, just walk to a bank, tell them this is how I earn, this is what I earn, what my credibility, how much, what mortgage can you give me for how much and for what period of time and what's the repayment like. Then now with that information, now you can go look for a house somewhere. Now you have a budget to work with.
Mimi naweza kuwa na 20k naenda nini confidently over niko na 20k nataka mortgage.
And they will find a way to help you. They will find a way. They will find a way.
You had a question too.
So yes, and these are probably some of the hidden costs, and we talked about this during the break, and just for the benefit of our audience and the viewers. When we're talking about owning a home, as Aisha, me nalipa to rent, and then if something breaks, I am calling my landlord. Fix the other one, and fix the other one. You know what I mean? But then if I am owning this, nobody tells you. Probably if you've not done your research, then there are other costs that are involved in here that probably you need to think about or know about before owning or buying or building that home. So maybe we can talk about some of those costs.
Of course, when you're buying a property, we have like a cost of around 5% more above the asking price, since we have 4% stamp duty and let's say 1% legal fee, which comes with it above the selling price. But remember, when you own a property, of course, have a percentage of expenditure. You see, like if I receive 20,000, I know maybe 20,000, 2,000, I'll be pumping it into maintaining the property. So you have to have a budget for maintenance, and which is, by the way, is deductible on the taxes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, someone here on Facebook says, this is Saroni Muruki Mungatia, says, as much as people try talking ill of owning a home, I will forever choosing building a home first before anything else. There is warmth sleeping in your own house. Whenever things go south, you will have a home to go to and strategize. You know what you were talking about, the emotional connection and security.
Investments?
Yes.
You don't want to compute an emotional return.
Yeah.
Right? When he speaks about the mortgage, a mortgage is good. Right? Now you have to differentiate. If you're picking a mortgage to invest, let's say I'm picking a mortgage at 9%. I get an apartment, I purchase it, the apartment gives me 11% return. The fundamentals start to make sense, right? But the point is, you end up picking a mortgage, right, to venture into something that cannot match the return. Now it's an emotional return. So now you have to sacrifice and look for extra income to pay for that mortgage. I'll leave it, and I like to say there's a reason in Kenya, outside Safaricom, banks are the most profitable companies in Kenya. If you look at it, they will leverage your money, right? To grow.
Sasa tuke pesa chini ya mattress.
Just emotions.
Emotional. Invest.
But we have a question as well. So no, we have a question right there, and we actually wow. We have about 5 questions.
Keep it short. Musiseme story ya clan ya nani na clan ya kina nani. Keep it and also direct it to the person you want.
Mine was a question like there's this. I've talked to someone, and then people are saying that si lazima ujenge Nairobi. There's also that. In 10 years to come, there'll be kama kutakuwa hizi unajua metro trans like za majuu, the trains that will be going kama hadi Murang'a and everywhere. So right now, I know of people wenye wanatoka maybe Murang'a ama uko chini wanakuja job town. They will be to Shago, then wanakuja town. Then do we follow on that, like for the people who have lands down there, because within 10 minutes got metro trans, you're already there. And also as I had asked, how do you go about the developing of land? There was this story I had with another podcaster that like Warrior, they'll go and maybe wanakuja kwako, sini mimi sasa niko na land lakini siwezi jenga. They come and build it for me, then they give me maybe half
parcel units.
Some units, and how do we go about it like in that aspect? Thank you so much. My name is Wangare Modoni wa Kenyanjui. We never said our names. Thank you so much.
Lest you forget. Do you want to tackle that?
Yes. I think she's correct to say that as our cities grow, and we may want to use the case of Nairobi, all these areas we are talking about, the Murang'as, we are talking about Kiambu, Kajiado,
Machakos,
of course. They are really part of the greater Nairobi metropolitan region. And indeed, with the improved infrastructure, with improved transport, those areas are really become part and parcel of the city Nairobi. So indeed what people are doing, because the prices of land and property are lower in the counties surrounding Nairobi compared to Nairobi, so many people are actually buying out there. And indeed, in certain instances, along these main corridors, I mean, we are talking about the road from Kitengela all the way to Namanga. There's no land there, really. You walk there, it's all boat, right up to the border. Okay? Because people can see the trends. People can go the trends. And with the improved transport system, it's actually possible that you can live very far away, but you're still able to enjoy the benefits of being in the metro region with improved transport within, as she has said, 20 minutes. Okay, you are actually all the way from the far end of Murang'a and you are in town very comfortably. So you can also see the importance then of town planning and the proper land use planning that can play in addressing some of these issues. Indeed, if there was that adequate transport systems in place, infrastructure, and we're not talking about water supply and whatever, but also other social community services, then we can actually ease the pressure on land for housing within the city of Nairobi in that regard. So it's a very important conversation that she brings on board, that really the pressure and the prices of land with proper infrastructure development, with proper transport, we can actually be able to stabilize, if not reduce the skyrocketing prices of housing in Nairobi and spread it out. And of course, as we do that, I think from a town planning point of view, it's important then to realize that it's always that as our people, as our country, there are many things that now needs to be balanced. Okay? If you find that people have to travel 50, 60, 100 kilometers all the way to come and work in Nairobi, then the cost of transport, the issues of pollution, okay, increases. The issue of then that we're invading into the very rich agricultural areas where our food comes from. Those are the regions where our water comes from. Okay, and indeed, if you travel now to the regions around here, Kiambu and so on, you actually see the impact. On the face of it, it may look very progressive, but I think in the long run, this is where then the government and the governments have, both the national and county government, and also then the town planners have worried to look at the bigger picture of what a nation required is required. It's not, we're not going to eat the concrete jungle. Okay, we must have food, and food can, if you now destroy all these food baskets around here, water supply sources, then you'll find we'll now be importing, as it were, and indeed we're importing basic foodstuffs. That also then increases the cost of living, and the whole, things of cost of living now comes into play. So it may never be a point where we're only just talking about housing as such, but we have got now to look at the total complexity of issues that really make life tick in that regard.
Interesting. I mean, the expressway dakika mbili, and now I feel like I live Machakos in a fly too.
But the extra costs that you pay.
You have extra costs for sure. Yes.
Maybe to add on to that.
Mr. James Abejabaza will come to you after.
Okay, to add on to that, of course, I support that one of having trains and opening up more areas for development. In fact, the government, instead of doing the low-cost housing, they should focus on opening up more areas for development through infrastructure and lowering the mortgage rates. That one will solve our problem. The government should not be in business of development or building. In fact, the government should focus on building stadiums, roads, bringing in trains, and building for the poor. the extremely poor. They're poor, which even if it's 1,000 per month, they can't afford. So that's where the government should focus on. And also, you said something about waria kuja wanaeka pesa pamoja, wanajenga. That is what is called joint venture. And joint venture usually works on high-value land. So I'm sure, not necessarily CBD, but high value. For example, if somebody had to invest 100 million in a property, they would not invest 100 million in a property worth 10 million. They would invest 100 million in a property worth maybe 100 million, another 100 million, so that it makes sense mathematically. But that is called a joint venture, and it works.
Okay. For rent, or maybe for rent for those houses that house goes for 30K per month, can it be beneficial to them who are investing, maybe basically?
Yeah, of course, if you are borrowing to build rental, sometimes it's very long term, and even the banks don't like it. When you're borrowing for development, the banks like when you're doing it for sale, so that you can pay off the bank within no time, and then you can remain with whatever units you remain, you can rent out.
Okay.
And there was another question, Pierre, I would like to address here. Is whereby you paid 300, you have a balance of 200. And how long has it been?
Speak to the mic.
Oh, sorry, early 2024.
Oh, 24. Oh, okay. So that's like 1 year.
1 year.
Has the property appreciated?
Yes, because yes.
Do they have titles?
Yes.
And then go to the bank and get a mortgage. The bank will get a mortgage with the title deed.
Let me just say this. I had another suggestion that I thought. Let me just, first of all, answer her what she thought about.
Okay. Before you answer, can I chip in and just
yes, please.
How do you know the land has appreciated? What metrics were you
using? Because my neighbor is a petrol station, actually, total petrol station. There is the next. It has already appreciated.
Do you have a valuer who has told it's appreciated?
Yes. So let me just answer her. She asked about Waria, nini. Actually, I'm a member of Unitas, and we have a group that we joined, we saved with them, and after a certain period of time, we talked to them. They bought for us land, actually, and we saved again with them, and we asked them if they can build for us rentals, of which they did, and they took like kuna first floor, second floor, na wakatupatia that floor. So for them, wanachukonga rent ya first floor na second floor, wanajilipa ile loan. Na sisi members, we now take the rent of either with that floor. Sisi wenyewe. So it's not only warriors, even circles, they do that for people.
And then later itakuwa yako, like wakimaliza kujilipa.
Yes, we will take our property.
Oh, thank you so much. Now I get you.
All right. Can we speak to you before we go? I know you accumulate all those things.
Don't go the caller said, huyo anasema hivyo. Anafanya misleading.
I mean, just back to where we started.
Yes.
I mean, the question is, do you rent or
do you buy?
And
so, also, can we throw in, do you build?
Do you build?
Yeah.
So listening to most of the callers and even the audience, we're talking to young people. And these young people, it's ages all the way from 20 to 30 years. So as my colleagues have said, building or owning a home is capital intensive. You are talking about millions. So at least $1 million, $2 million, all the way to 5 million, 6 million. This money, you don't have it right now, but you can have it. So you have to have a plan. I'm 24 years now. I'm 25 years now. In 10 years, I want to be a home owner. So you have to then start living within your means or even below your means, whereby on a monthly basis, religiously, you're putting away some money to an investment, knowing that in 5 years, in 6 years, this is what I'm going to use to actually unlock this dream of owning a home. You can't wake up today and say, I want to be a homeowner, and there's nothing you've done. So, and the good thing is that in the market, there are products that you can use to save this money on a monthly basis. And the Capital Markets Authority has done a good job in making sure that there are regulated people, including Kuza ourselves. Simple products, just like a money market fund. A minimum, I mean, like for instance, if I spoke about the Kuza Money Market Fund, the minimum investment amount is 1,000 shillings. Yeah. So you can put away 1,000 shillings every month. And in 5 years, because of the power of compounding, you'll be surprised how much you'll be talking about. Even that deposit that normally is needed, because at times you'll be told, for us to give you a mortgage, at least you have to raise maybe 10% deposit. How do you raise it? It's a lump sum. If the house is a 2 million house, they need 200,000. So if you haven't been saving, where will you get this? So we have to address the saving culture. Because as Kenyans, we want to spend everything.
Exactly. So listen, there's someone here, sorry, on YouTube who says it's cheaper to buy, Anita Fleming Kabi, who says it's cheaper to buy land and build, let me tell you, than to buy a fully furnished house. The wise know this. So can we take a break? I really like the point that you're bringing. Let's start somewhere, save something, and then have that long-term goal if you want to own a home, and then work towards that, which is a good thing because we're speaking to young people here and also those
Welcome back to your world. Heavy conversations are being had. Yani, by the end of this show, we need a direction. Something somehow we'll have to do. And I think I am getting somewhere. When you were starting, I couldn't even say if it's rent or to own. But I feel like I'm getting closer to
the emotional part.
And the question,
owning a property.
The question you're asking you today, are property prices creating generational housing crisis? Do you think that the property prices right now are creating a generational housing crisis? Generational. It's not just about you. It's the people who are coming after you as well. But I also love the fact that we've all sort of like gotten to a point where we're talking about what are we doing to create that money? Because whether it's rent, whether it's owning a home, whether it's buying that land, whether it is building that home, hata kama land ulipewa na wazazi, tutahitaji pesa ya kuijenga.
Alafu sasa tunalipa tax,
hata uko ushago, hakuna kufanya. So we need money for that. How are we making that money? And we had a couple of questions just before the break. We can start with you. Utuambie jina.
Yes, I'm Frederick, a political strategist.
So, umetumwa ama tukutume? Okay.
So it's a bit challengeable on the side of payslip, because on my story when I was working at Upper Hill UAP, I had a payslip of 30,000.
Okay.
So on this payslip, you have a payee, you have a house levy, you have whatever. So the bank offers you a limit of a mortgage limit of 20 million, between 500,000 and 20 million. So the issue here is you have gone for that mortgage in bank, and they are telling you you choose between a 3-bedroom and either a 2-bedroom. So I have chosen 3-bedroom.
Okay.
The 3-bedroom is the location they are found is in Kitengela. So after going to Kitengela, they pay that mortgage house. Then the remaining balance, they tell you that if you need another, like a lorry for transportation, like it's not only for housing, you understand? Now the question is, they have given me that mortgage house and a lorry. Now, the mortgage house I need to pay for 10 years. I have a payslip of 30,000. I have taken a mortgage of 20 million, a lorry and a house. Now my question goes this way. I have a contract with my company for only 4 years. I need to pay the mortgage in 10 years.
Yes.
And I have some taxes, whatever and whatever. I have no any income. I have no any investment, but I'm owning a home. When I come from my house, I go to job. When I come from job, I go to my home. I don't have any income or whatever. Now 4 years I've collapsed. Now the bank is expecting me to start paying the mortgage in refund of the in cash, and my contract is over. I don't have any investment like business to recover the money. So how will I come up so that I can pay the money for mortgage? Because you see, this house it's not giving income. You are just in that for long term. It's not a short term.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The panel.
I will just say one statement and I'll let him speak it up. But when he was talking about it, you have to start with a plan. So clearly, it's starting to become very clear you didn't start with a plan. You're probably driven by what I call the emotional, the irrational side point of view. Now you've gotten to a point where you have no income. Challenge is, you've put yourself in a box where you don't also have multiple streams of income. That's why I like to say that most of the time it's an income problem. That's why you need to start. You have to have multiple streams. Then you have to plan your life, not for 2 years planning or 4 years planning. You need to plan over the long term, right? In today's real world, someone said salary alone is not enough, right? You also have to have a side hustle. So you have multiple streams and you have to plan. You don't start because someone said they own a house or they've picked a mortgage they can pay, they're paying X amount. No one tells you how they're affording to pay it. Everyone just tells you I pay X per month. That's it. That's where the story ends. No one shares what they go through, how they suffer to afford something, but everyone shares the success story.
Yes.
With status.
All
No one will tell you they're suffering. But I'll let...
Speak to the mic. Mortgage manager. You've been granted.
Yes. New title.
Keep it short because we literally have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes.
The show.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
Can I prefer to take a mortgage like I take houses for rent in Kilimani? Then on that mortgage, I na stay tu kule kilele nini further. Then na stay kwa one bedroom. Then nimechukua mortgage na rental house Kitengela ama Kilimani. Naweza endelea kupata hiyo income nikilipa hiyo mortgage.
That's a very...
Okay, for one, number one, I don't think there's any bank who will lend you 20 million with an income of 30,000. That's not possible. And if they lend you, for example, for any reason they lend you, they have lent you to buy a house and a lorry. Of course, they're figuring you're using that lorry to generate income so that you can pay. So not that you're depending on your 30,000 every month. That's not sufficient for that. And again, you see there's credit evaluation.
Forward to own a home with my co-investor. Someone that loves, sunset, na kashamba hapo nyuma. So I'll direct my question to Mr. Moses. Are there hybrid models emerging like, rent to own or cooperative housing which offer middle ground? Thank you.
Mr. Mose, that was a question for you.
Okay, yeah. So I know these rent-to-own models. But it hasn't taken a lot of traction. But what exactly the government is trying to do with the affordable housing? An iteration of the affordable housing is basically that rent you pay then translates to you owning the house. Yeah. So I guess the person who's come closest in providing such a model is actually government through the affordable housing. And just listening to the gentleman who asked a question earlier, in Kenya, we have a big challenge on willingness to take risk with a mismatch of ability to take risk. So whereby you actually want this and yet realistically you can't afford it. Yeah. So I was also wondering which bank can actually accept to give a mortgage of 20 million to an income of 30,000 on a monthly basis. So we have to accept our situation first. And with accepting our situation, then we'll be able to plan ahead. You'll be like, I'm not where I want to be, but if I started from here in like 5, 6, 10 years, I'll be somewhere, then I'll be able to afford whatever I want to afford.
Okay.
I think also something extremely useful, and this is where we started from, as a basic human right, housing. The government, the state can never be too far away. It has a very important and essential role to play to be able to make sure that their citizens are housed. So it's indeed an important part to stress here that the government somewhere must come in and strongly support us, the citizens, to be able to own, even for rental, to come in place. Either, and the very first one is, and picking from the point where he said that really government has no basis in terms of maybe building, okay, but it has other roles to play, for example, to be able to lay the public infrastructure utilities, to put them in place, to open up those areas, to be able to provide the schools, the health facilities, because it's not just a house that people are buying into. It's not just a home that people are out, whatever. It's a whole complex of the supportive community facilities that are required, that the citizens require. It's indeed a very sad situation where you may find that in certain instances we have simply people are on 10, 15 floors, no sunlight, no nothing, no playgrounds, no so on, no place to even to bask in the sun, and then you soon find there's a generation of children that are born with weak bones and so on, health issues. Okay, so this is where the state, the government comes in to be able to provide those green open spaces, the schools that they want. I tell you, parents now, and taking the case of Nairobi, for example, you'll find parents taking children from they live in one part of the city and taking children on the other side, and so on. When really the ideal situation is such that really children should be able to walk to school. Right from nursery, they should be able to walk to school, okay? And this is where then you find that the state government has actually failed to make sure that such community facilities are within the proximity of the housing that we are talking about, irrespective of whether it's renting or ownership. So that's an important player that we may want to mention, that really the state has a part to play in this whole scenario.
Okay, I see that. Do you have a question or?
A point of concern.
Okay.
And also a question. I'd like to ask our guests to give us advice, we as youths. You know, in this current generation, we have that notion that for you to have a sense of community, you have to own a home, you know. So you find that we youths, we don't have that capable capital for us to be able to own a home or to be given a loan from the bank. Now, what can you tell us? What can you tell us, we youths, that we should do in order to avoid that pressure? Since we have that pressure of owning a home, you know, as you also heard from Charles, what he said about a girlfriend doing those stuff, you know, what can you tell us, youth, since you have that pressure of owning a home, yet you don't have that beside capital.
Capability right now. Okay.
Okay.
Who wants to take it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, of course, that has been addressed, but I'll address it again. So the thing is, the saving culture or being able to save money is a difficult thing. Always, especially for the young guys, utatokea mpango fulani, utaenda uchukue ile ulikuwa umeweka. There will always be issues. So my suggestion is, start where you are today, whatever you can afford.
Correct.
Start with something. Hata kama ni ka 50 by 100 uko Kamulu ama mahali uko somewhere. A plot worth 500 like our sister here did. And then you, nowadays they have flexible payment plan, maybe a year, 6 months or something like that. Then you keep on paying. Like for example, I remember my first property, I bought it at 250,000. That was, I think I was 20 years old. So this property, that's 250 was a lot of money. It took me almost 6 months to pay it, but I eventually paid. But now what that little property did to me, it gave me discipline and it gave me the investment appetite. So, I mean, it's still there. But the thing is, it conditions you to be an investor. And that's the point you want to be him.
Okay.
I think also very quickly, adding on that, I think the issue of discipline is important.
It is.
Discipline to be able to, and that's why they said, it's never saying that I want to earn 100,000, that's when you'll start saving. No.
Yeah.
Whatever you earn, make a point of saving. There is never too little to save. So I think that element of the saving culture, as you have said, is missing to a large extent in the generations that are coming after us. Okay?
Yeah.
I think we are having a generation that is simply out to spend and consume, okay, rather than having that discipline of
now.
Making whatever. Then also in terms of exposure, I think people have either through the mass media, the global picture of they see what life can be, okay. I think there is far from it. So there's that element of discipline, okay.
Yes.
There's never. Indeed, we also say you can never earn, you once say that you want to earn 1 million shillings, that's when you want to do something. No, you may find many earn that amount of money, but they also don't move fast. So that element of discipline is extremely important. And what he said is always, there must be a plan. You must always plan to whatever. Because when you don't plan, then you are certainly planning to fail.
That's true.
And the takeaway is, so we're not saying either or, like renting is good, buying is bad, or buying is good, renting is bad.
Correct.
Understand where you are at, and then look at the long-term goals that you have, and then work towards that. Because I want to believe almost every single person we all have that dream, and that is owning our own home, okay? Right. So, I know you guys want to speak, but we literally have to end the show. We have like 2 minutes to end the show. Can we do the comments to Malizia? Yeah.
Mwenda's hand is also up.
Yes. Okay. Of course, I know there are many questions.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been in real estate for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've gone through all the processes.
Yeah.
Even I've managed to write a book.
Oh, you have?
Taking up space.
Yeah.
In the shelf soon. We are launching it on the 30th.
Okay. Congratulations.
So you can get a copy. Actually, it will address most of your questions.
Oh, the questions will be answered. I like that. So then as we build towards that, and we'll take this as the question.
Yes, no, this is it.
Yeah, to bring this to a close, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the other investments that we can maybe tap into as we build towards owning a home or forever renting? Because there are some people who that works, for them. So what are some of these other options that we can tap into and completely do away with this narrative that real estate is the only thing that you can invest in? And again, advice for the young people as we bring this to a close. Yes.
I think I can take that one. I'll start by giving an example, just sharing statistics.
Okay.
In Kenya, we have over 90 million bank accounts.
Okay. Wow.
Yet the population in Kenya is around 55 million.
Yeah, 55.
But if you look at investment accounts that we have registered under the Capital Markets Authority, it's just about 2 million. That shows you how bad the situation is. We are not investing in Kenya. So the simplest way to start as a young person, the moment you've come of age to open a bank account, the next account you need to open is a money market account. And we have even some players who have a minimum of 100 shillings for a money market fund. Kuza's minimum is 1,000 shillings. So it's really been democratized. Then as you grow, you can venture into a product like a fixed income fund as well. And here we are talking about good returns, because money market funds, you're getting 13%, which is very decent as compared to single-digit returns that you can get in some investments.
Yeah.
And actually, once then you use the money market fund to get to a critical mass, like maybe 1 million or 2 million, you can venture into bonds. The government of Kenya has never defaulted. You can trust to lend money to the government of Kenya, and you can invest in infrastructure bonds, whereby you're getting 14% tax-free. So you can use that income from the bonds to actually be able to pay your rent forever.
Okay, okay.
Something to ponder, something to think about.
Think about. We've got like a minute, so maybe we'll just, I don't know, is that it?
If we say a minute, we'll speak here for five minutes. I think the thing is, understand where you are, look at the opportunities, and then 10 seconds?
Yes, 10 seconds.
Yes. 10 seconds.
Of course, when it comes to investment, being able to diversify your portfolio. You don't have to be on real estate only. But let real estate take a big chunk. This is more reliable. Thank you.
And he made sure will be like, but you are in real estate.
He made sure his 10 seconds were used wisely. Thank you so much, guys, for coming through. Thank you, my amazing audience, for participating. And I hope you tap into their wisdom even after the show is done. So, Winnie, what is your take on?
See, my thing is, first of all, understand where you are as a person, but also look at your long-term goals. What are they? Maybe owning a home is not your long-term goal, okay? Maybe traveling is your long-term goal. So look at where you are at and think about those, and diversify your income. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Have the knowledge.
Yes.
Have the knowledge.
Have the knowledge.
Have the knowledge.
Have the knowledge. And don't be stuck. Don't be stuck up on just the one thing that you were told. Learn more about the things that are happening around you. Change your mindset, and also diversify your incomes. Not just one stream, because all the dreams that we have, they need money. So you can't just wake up and